Hey guys, welcome to Car Paladin. Today we're going to be talking about if you should purchase or lease your next vehicle. There's definitely pros and cons to both. Spoiler alert, I tend to buy my vehicles, but when you're trying to decide between the two, there's pros and cons. You've got to ask yourself a couple of questions. First, let's get started about the lease. How does that even work? And, a dealership's going to try to explain it to you in a way to where it sounds really good and it's a lower payment and they're just trying to get closer to your payment goal. It is helpful in that way sometimes. So is a lease for you? Do you put a lot of miles on your car? That's the first thing you're going to ask yourself. How many miles do I drive a year? If the answer is more than 15K miles a year, you're probably just going to stick with the purchase. Because the number one concern with leasing is mile restrictions. So only being able to drive a certain amount of miles a year. And after that mile mark, you get charged when you turn it in. Do you like upgrading a lot? Are you someone who trades in every year? Well, then leasing might be a good option if you do a short-term lease, but a 3-year lease and at that point probably won't be good for you if you're getting a new vehicle every year. But that's not a lot of people. But a lot of people tend to trade in every 3 or 4 years. A lease might make sense because you're probably already never owning your cars anyways. You might as well just have a $750 payment or a $500 payment and just be able to transition into a new vehicle every 3 years without having to absorb any negative equity or deal with that kind of stuff, as long as you take care of your cars. Another question, do you want a lower payment? I mean, when you're exploring the purchase, if the lease is just significantly less on the payment, it might make sense to lease it, especially if you're just payment shopping. And the last thing is going to be, and the last thing is going to be if you like staying under warranty, because leases, typically you're always going to be under warranty. Everything's covered. You're not really worried about anything except for the tires. And in most cases, by the time you turn in a lease, you haven't even changed the tires or the brake pads yet. Leases scare people because they're scared when they turn it in, they're going to be charged for this and that, and there's a scratch and a ding. And typically leases are pretty relaxed, especially when I've taken in leases. Our lease guy, the one he's basically just the inventory manager. He was in charge of in taking all the leases. It's not like they're sticklers. They expect normal wear and tear on a vehicle. I've very rarely seen any charges. And if you get in a car accident, your insurance pays for that. So it's okay. You just fix it like normal and just still turn it in. Accidents happen. It's okay. So the main thing with the lease is, do you plan on trading in often? Because if you plan on trading in often, or you just have in your past, I've traded in every 2 or 3 years, a lease might actually be a good option. But the confusing part is just how to calculate if you're getting a good deal on a lease or not. That's the incredibly difficult part. That's what makes me lean toward just buying, because I just don't have enough information on what the money factor is, what is the residual, what kind of lease incentives are available for that particular vehicle. All those things are a big question mark to me, and it's not easy to get those answers. And I can't trust the dealership to give me what the money factor is. And it's very hard to calculate the payment knowing that information. It's almost impossible. I wouldn't want to do it. And I've been in the car business for 9 years. But what you can do is there's an Edmunds lease calculator. It's pretty dang accurate. But the thing is, the lease purchase price is still a huge factor. So you don't know if you're getting all the discounts. What is the actual lease purchase price? It's very confusing. It can be super frustrating. If you're specifically shopping for a lease, it's incredibly difficult to do. If you are planning on purchasing a vehicle and then you're comparing that to the lease option, it's easy to calculate which one's better for you. Because to calculate a lease, all you have to do is times the payments by the month. So let's say it's a $500 36-month lease, do 36 times 500 and then whatever cash down they require. It's easy to lump up all the money, like, okay, so let me just do that real quick for you guys. 35. Sorry. So let's do $500 times 36. That's $18,000. And then let's say they require $2,000 down as well. So that's $20,000. I can divide that by 36 and say, okay, so my real lease payment's $555 and I'm going to have it for 3 years. Is that worth it? I mean, 20,000 divided by 3, that's $6,666 a year to drive the vehicle. Is that worth it? And what if the purchase is $875 for 72 months? 875 times 72 is 63,000. Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference. I drive it for 3 years and I only pay 20 grand. Or do I want to pay $63,000 over the course of 72 months? It's a lower payment. I can still buy the car after the fact. I just have to double check what the residual is. I'm kind of leaning toward a lease in that situation only because I'm really comfortable with leases and I know about them and stuff like that. But that's what I'm saying. It's easy to calculate. It's easy to calculate which one's the better deal for you. Now, on a purchase, let's flip it to the purchase side, right? Is buying for you. 90% of customers just want to buy. Everyone thinks in their head like, hey, I want to own this car. It's going to be mine. So the easy answer is, yeah, just buy it. I mean, if that's what you want to do, if that's what you've always done. Do you plan on keeping it a long time? Because if you plan on keeping it for forever, just buy it. You don't have to deal with the residual and all that other stuff. Just buy it. If you know that's the one. Do you drive a bunch of miles? Just buy it. You don't see yourself in the market, meaning you don't see yourself wanting to upgrade 3 or 4 years from now. When the new 70-inch screen comes out in the back seat of a Camry, are you going to want to upgrade to that? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or do the new features excite you every year that come out in vehicles? Because if they do, then maybe just lease it. Don't buy it. Because in the next 10 years, the features on vehicles are going to continuously go up and up and up until even the lowest trim level is going to have things that the highest trim level have now, in my opinion. But I'm a pretty bland guy when it comes to long-term vehicles. So now I drive a TRD Pro 4Runner. Inside of it's really pretty bland. I mean, it's basically just a SR5 Premium with locking rear differential. There's not a lot going on there, and the upgrade to suspension's not really much different. I mean, you could spend $2,000 and have a better suspension than what comes on the TRD Pro. So I don't really care about bells and whistles, so that's why it's easy for me to lean toward the purchase on something like that. And then again, guys, if leasing just sounds too restricting to you and like there's too much going on and you just don't like the idea of having to give it back or get fined or going over miles, you just want to own it, then just stick with purchasing. It's the easy thing to do. I have the entire guide on how to buy a car and get the best deal. Typically, if you follow my guide and then you purchase the car, it's always going to be a better deal than leasing. So yeah, guys, if you plan on just keeping your car for a long time, follow my guide, just buy it. Leasing's cool. It's definitely an option. They're just, right now, the lease incentives aren't as good as what they used to be 4 or 5 years ago. You used to be able to lease like a 4x4 Tundra for $300 a month with 0 down. I mean, those were the days when it was like amazing lease. It is slowly shifting to a buyer's market again. So I do foresee those days coming back within the next 2 years. But for now, just if you're just unsure about it, stick with buying. Just follow my guide at carpaladin.com. You'll get the best deal, and that usually equates to a better lease. And again, I'm talking domestic stuff. I'm talking Toyota, Ford, Ram, Dodge, Hyundai, Kia. I'm in that realm, right? If we're talking Porsche and above, I mean, that's kind of the top, but, you know, Audi. No, I don't consider Audi. Out of domestic. Audi's basically domestic. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey, guys, help me out by liking and subscribing. Got to beat the algo.